I've always been thinking, how can I talk about climate? And it gave me all of these things combined with a lot of the solutionary aspects, helped me to kind of sell myself on teaching it as an English teacher. My name is Matt Clemens. I'm entering, next year will be my second year at El Camino High School in South San Francisco Unified School District. Next year will be my first year as English department chair. I taught this year, my first year, I taught mainly seniors. Mainly seniors. So I taught a ERWC class, which is, it stands for Expository Reading and Writing. And that was the class where the unit took place. What inspired me to do the unit and to do the fellowship is it's just kind of an intersection of a lot of my interests. I love teaching. I love learning about the environment. And if you learn about, well, love is I should maybe use it different because sometimes, you can learn things that aren't the most pleasant. But yeah, I mean, once you study the environment and climate change, you quickly realize you're kind of studying everything. You're talking about food systems, transportation systems, industrial systems, waste systems, all the fellowship, the day and week long institutions that we had during the program. And so, and the other part is this is my 6th year teaching this year, and most of my time has been in high school, and kids, I think, not only want to talk about it, they take it personally if it's not talked about. If schools, institutions aren't talking about these things the way that kids think that they should, which is in a very kind of pressing way, they can kind of waver with trust a little bit, and I don't blame them for that. So it almost felt like, I think if you talk to my students now, they would say this should be taught all the time, everywhere, because it's a super important issue that affects everybody. So all those reasons and more are why I try to, especially as an English teacher, bring those things in my classroom. I've always been thinking, how can I talk about climate? And it gave me all of these things combined with a lot of the solutionary aspects, helped me to kind of sell myself on teaching it as an English teacher. So I was able to kind of think about it in terms of research, in terms of writing, in terms of rhetoric, in terms of really complex thinking. The other part about the solutions part too is the reflection is really important, because as I mentioned earlier, some of the stuff is not pleasant to talk about. I mean, some of the prognostications with regards to what's going to happen if we keep warming the planet, it's not good. And it's not going to be good. We might be dead and gone, but the students might be here, or their kids might be here, or their grandkids might be here. So, that was always a challenge, is how do you tell our kids every day that the world's ending? But seeing the solutionary part of the Institute and how they did that and just focused on that, I thought it was a way to empower, instead of being like this, getting this onslaught of information. As a student, you're kind of empowered to say, okay, well, these are the facts, but what can we do about it? And how do we think about how to figure out what we're going to do about it? It was kind of more built into my class. It was kind of a classroom thing where it's like, okay, we're feeling this way, but we know from this unit, what can we do when we're feeling anxious over these conversations about our future, our sustainability? What can we do to kind of help get through those? So, the last thing I'll say is, I mean, the last assignment that we did in the unit was a PSA. Why can't I think of a public service announcement? I don't know why I couldn't think of public for a second. So they did a public service announcement, and they could kind of address any particular problem of sustainability that they wanted to address. But they had to at least include one solution to the problem in the PSA as sort of a call to action. So, again, I would like to have done a lot more than that in a non-COVID in-person year. but from their computers and from their, their homes, I hope that that gave them a little bit of agency just to say, I know at least one thing we can do that's going to make this better, and here's my pitch to everybody to get on board with that. I think the way forward, I mean, this is like some radical thinking with schools, but like I am in an admin credential program. So, I can't help but think if I had more authority at a school, if I were running a school at a higher at the level of a principal, I think one thing I do is like a sustainability month or sustainability week where all the teachers are asked to get together to create a cohesive curriculum for that day or week or month where we're studying sustainability from interdisciplinary perspectives. So, and they make sense. And the teachers have gotten together to make sure that they make sense. And this is happening at every grade level. And so just to get, I mean, sometimes I think about what it means to be a kid on campus. And if you're taking 7 or 8 classes, your head is spinning. If these teachers aren't communicating from one class to another, and why, for most schools, why should they be? You're going from one class to another, and there's very little consistency. And there's, if you can't draw a thread through what you learned that day and kind of connect things, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice, and the school's not doing any favors for you by not asking you to create those threads. So that's what I feel like. If I were running a school, if I were running more departments, that would be a goal of mine. How can we take really important topics like sustainability and create a cohesive school unit, not just a departmental unit, but we're going to talk about this thing as a whole school for a week or for a month, and see where we come out. So I guess trying to spread the word, and then thinking about, as I climb, if I continue to climb the ladder in schools, what would I do with sustainability? And that's one thought that I've had, is just, I think in general we should do more with interdisciplinary approaches, and not just, here's math and you're done with math after 50 minutes, and then you're on to a completely different subject, and then it's a completely different subject, and then we're going to do that 6 times, and then you go home for the day. There might be a better way to do that, and I'd be interested in exploring it. It's not just going to be me. I mean, there's a whole generation coming, and that goes back to the first question, which is why I did this, because I don't want these kids to be my age and say, why didn't we talk about this in school? Why didn't teachers teach us about this? That's a huge moral responsibility I feel like I have, where I need, that's just, as a teacher, I want to inform them about these things because it's going to affect them. I don't want them to feel like they were robbed. And I think in doing that, with the activism of that generation, it's really easy calculus for them to say, well, this is what we're going to do. And they're kind of good at just kind of coming up with that. So I think that's really good for kind of community outreach, and for changing at least the local communities here with the students, for them to be able to think about that and think about solutions. Yeah, I think moving forward, I mentioned it, if I run a school, this would be one of my ideas. Of course, I wouldn't want to force it down. Hopefully I'd have a faculty that wanted to get on board with that. I would just say, just keep your mind open and go, just, apply. If you're curious, apply. And I think just seeing a couple other teachers in the Institute, being in the program, seeing the activities they're doing, I think your teacher brain will go off in a million different directions and say, oh, of course, this is how we teach it. This is why we teach it. So English teachers, that's my spiel. If you're on the fence, just like, you should not be afraid. But if you're looking for answers like I was, I think you'll find many of them through the Institute. So that's my pitch to English teachers. Go teach about the environment and sustainability.